I can't be sworn in until I get sweared out. I mean,
Okay.
Poor John pulled all his hair off.
Or swear that. I just cut it off. I'm done.
is that very hard to do to maintain something like that? I mean, you
Just get one of those shavers. It takes about 30 seconds. Do your face with the same one.
I still don't complain. Well,
I got tired of it.
When did you get the appointment?
Oh no, I was meaning what was the original one that they signed?
I couldn't do it today.
Well, I was asking for the number because I think it would be easier to repeal that than actually. Oh, that's fine. Yep, there. That's what I'm
I will be resigning. Fought some pretty big monsters.
Has everybody that's in the room
Fought some pretty big
signed in
monsters
already?
last night.
And signed in sheet?
Pretty big ones.
Yes? Yeah. We are live whenever you guys want to go.
Hello. It's freezing.
Christine, do you want to shut the back door back there so we don't have any? Shut the back door for us. Thank you. A minute. Let's see. Penny, you said you guys are good?
Yep, we're on live.
Tim, Misty, you guys good to go?
Sure.
Good.
Alrighty. Make sure it's 6 o'clock.
Everybody's got the red light on their speakers.
Red
Looks
light.
that way.
Yep.
Alright.
Two of them over there. I'll go first.
Alrighty. Call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, roll call. Misty Hess,
Here.
R.J. Donovan, present. Tim Yoakum.
Present.
And before we move on to the approval of minutes, I'd like to take a moment and congratulate Mr. Yoakum on his election to the House District 42 last night. I'd like to give him a round of applause if anybody would join me. I'd like to say a couple of things before we move on. Tim, thank you for your service to the county and your term as a county commissioner and all your years. I think public service is a tough thing to do. And anytime you do serve, you're putting your name out there, and I appreciate your service to the county. And I, as long as everyone else out here in the community, look forward to working with you as the next District 42 representative. Misty, would you like to add anything?
Oh, I've already congratulated him, Tim. I'm super excited for you to see what you can do for our county and our district. So,
Thank you.
And Tim, I'll give the floor to you if there's anything you want to say before we get started tonight.
I just want to say it's been a pleasure. It's been an experience working in local government. I think that one of the biggest problems we have with the state government is people will go to the state level and do not understand how local government works. These 10 years I've been involved has gave me a very broad knowledge of understanding how local government works. Some days have been rough. It's not always been the best, but I value your support in the future. I think about everyone here probably has my cell phone number. If you don't, I'll give it to you. And I just want to, I'm accessible. Text works best for me. If you're ever in Indianapolis between now and the end of April, text me and come and visit me in the State House tomorrow. If anybody wants to come, my swearing in ceremony is at 4 o'clock in the at the State House. So it's a big day, big deal tomorrow. I appreciate your support in the past. I will still be accessible. Vermilion County government is not going away from me. And I will still be accessible, and I will still work to do what I can in Vermilion County Park, northern part of Vigo, and north half of Clay. So, and a little part of Fountain County. But it's been a pleasure, and I'm not going away. You'll still see me all the time. You'll see me come to council and commissioners meetings and be there and still be effective as much as I can for our local citizens. But I appreciate your support in the past.
Thank you. Before we move on too much, the rest of the meeting, I'd like to get an addendum done to this meeting agenda. There was one thing left off of it. We have a health department appointment that needs rectified. So there's no objection to the Board of Commissioners. I'd like to add that at the bottom of this agenda so we can address that tonight.
No problem.
No problem. Christina, okay. All right, move on. Approval of minutes from January 2nd, 2025. I'll entertain a motion for that.
Make motion.
Motion by Tim. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Misty. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries. Approval of claims for December 30th, 2024, January 3rd, 2025, and January 17th, 2025. Do I have a motion for that?
Make motion.
Motion by Tim. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Misty. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Approval of payroll for January 3rd, 2025 and January 17th, 2025. Do I have a motion?
Make motion.
Motion by Tim. Do I have a second?
Second it.
Second by Misty. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, treasurer report you guys have in your packet. You guys have any questions or any comments on that?
This is the total interest in 2024, right?
Yep.
Our interest on our, that we occurred on our investment was $1,978,000, 194 cents, and our treasurer's done a wonderful job in taking care of that. So I just want to say thank them for what they've done.
Yep. Misty, any comments?
No comments.
All right, there's none on that. We'll move on to open issues. First, 2024 ordinance, Unified Development Ordinance, zoning map, Penny Carpenter and Brad Johnson.
This public comment will left out of this.
It looks like we have one at the end. Yeah, normally there's one up top here. Yeah, before we get to that, let's throw that up there because normally we have that at the top as well. Before we get to you, Brad, we have public comment at the beginning and end. We'll limit to 3 minutes. If anybody would like to come up now, we'll take that now, or we have public comment at the end as well. So we'll open that up now if there's any public comment.
Clayton Sanguinetti, Citizens Against Wabash Valley Resources. Kind of got a question. How can Wabash Valley Resources threaten eminent domain when they don't have 60% of their pore space? They're sending letters to Vermilion County and Vigo County residents over some test wells, requesting immediate response, or they will seek eminent domain. How is that even right? The law states 60% of the pore space before eminent domain. Is that even legal? Can you answer that? Okay.
What did he say? Sorry.
He said leave it to the council.
The commissioners?
Yeah, it's just not right. It's bullying our community once again. Not right. Doesn't sit well with me. It doesn't sit well with any of these people in there and the people that have to go out and hire attorneys for something that's done prematurely.
Thank you, Clay. John, on that, do you have any answers to something like that?
I'm looking at
Looking at it now? Okay.
now. I didn't know that was going to be a
Yeah.
question, so I'm rereading the statute.
All right, thank you. Clay, if we get an answer, we'll let you know on that. Thank you.
Can you guys speak up a little bit?
Sure.
I'm here and back here. Hi, my name's Susan Strolkoff. Although I do not live in Vermilion County, I live right across the county line. And I just want to say I appreciate you elected officials looking out for your citizens, listening to them. I think that's what's missing in government, but you guys have really touched my heart because you have been listening, and I appreciate that. Just one thing I want to talk, and I know that you're new here, but congratulations, first
Thank you
woman.
very
Yeah,
much.
I'm
Thank
glad.
you.
But anyway, if you need to be brought up to speed, of course they're selling this project. It's like a used car salesman, right? They will say whatever it takes to sell the thing to them, to the people. But people need to look under the hood. Yes, there is economic growth because it does offer 100 jobs for 12 years. But there are also multiple risks. There are earthquakes, chance of water contamination, pipeline ruptures, and leaks. And leaks, those things do happen because they happened in Mississippi. ADM had a leak. They actually had a couple of leaks. They weren't sure where the CO2 has migrated to. And I also agree with Mr. Sanquinetti that the law states they have to have 60% of the pore space acquired before they can use eminent domain. But they have been sending nasty letters to the citizens, which I think is horrible. But anyway, they have been disingenuous with lawmakers, with us. They told us if we do not want it, they will not be here. They also said there's thousands of these wells in Indiana. There's not. There are only 2 in the United States. But just to wrap up here, there was a conference in Midland, Texas, just in December, and Brad Crabtree, who works for the Department of Energy, was there. And he also has made remarks, and it says, talking about the technology, and he did say this technology has not been deployed at a commercial scale anywhere in the world. So we are an experimental test pilot project. And also during that conference, there was a geologist, his name was Norman E. Wells, Jr., and in his final presentation, he said, we do not know all the potential problems related to CCS. That's a very important statement coming from a geologist. He also said, it's still in the early life cycles. He gave graphs on what happened in Oklahoma because they became the earthquake capital of the world here because they started injecting things. And then one of his, I could go over the whole thing, but I'll just wrap it up. He said, it may be too late by the time an event happens. That's a geologist. So we do know science. They keep saying we don't, but we do. We read their stuff. We also read other science and studies and stuff. So thank you. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, if not, we will move on to 2024-10 ordinance, Unified Development Ordinance, zoning map. Brad, I'll let you get back up again.
Great, thank you. Good evening. We are back representing the Area Plan Commission. We have revised the Unified Development Ordinance per Commissioner's requests. The document that was heard by the Plan Commission on January 9th, we held a legally advertised. Yep, sure. I will do my best.
Yes.
So on January 9th, the Area Plan Commission held a public hearing that was legally advertised per state statutes. At that public hearing, we did not hear any new public comment. We did hear from the Plan Commission. They asked lots of questions. The draft document was actually made available. It's been many weeks ago, even a week before our deadline for having that document made available to the public. In the time since you last saw it, as commissioners last saw this document, what we've done is taken the document and made the changes that were requested, as well as did another full scan of the document to make sure that we'd covered all of our bases. Now, there were a few things that were found in that review, and I wanted to point those out to you that would be of importance to you. In the draft document that's been on the county's website, what's before you today, all of the changes are coded in red. So it's really obvious what has changed since the last draft that the county commissioners were presented. In this draft, there's only a couple of things that were not coded in red, and that is just simply dates. Like we had a projected date that we had plugged into the original ordinance as being finished by the end of 2024. Obviously, that's not going to happen, so we moved those dates to 2025. We also changed the names of the commissioners and just kind of those types of updates. Those were not coded in red, but everything else substantive is actually coded in red in this document. So some of the things we've done is change the name. So we shortened it. We got rid of Area Planning Commission. It was a mouthful. So Vermilion County Area Planning Commission, Unified Development Ordinance. We just struck Area Planning Commission out of that throughout the document. We found that we did not have truck stop listed as a permitted or special exception use in the highway commercial. That was not one that had been seen before by you. And by doing that, we went ahead and defined the term truck stop. So those are the types of changes that we've made in this document. Going to the commissioners' requests, I know that we had a lot of conversation about signs in agricultural areas. All of that content was added to this draft, making it clear that in agricultural areas you can have a ground sign to denote your business that's maybe happening on your property. Those are permanent signs as per Commissioner's direction. You also asked me to go back to the emergency services folks. Had conversation with your emergency services coordinator as well as the fire chiefs throughout the entire county. Emails were sent out to all of them. Drafts of the language was sent out to all of them to comment on that. We did get comments back, not from everyone, but from several of those folks. They asked for those revisions to the driveway standards. Again, when we drafted it, Area Plan Commission and myself and our steering committee, we took the best information we had available to us, but we had not made that connection with the fire chiefs. So, for instance, we had a 30,000 pound requirement that driveways need to be able to handle a 30,000 pound vehicle. They asked for 50,000 pound, which is still not their heaviest vehicles, but they felt like that was enough. So the idea is that if somebody has a really long driveway and they expect fire trucks to be able to get to their front door to put out a fire, or an ambulance to get to their front door to rescue somebody, they have to have these standards to be able to do that. And during this conversation, there were 2 runs that were not able to get to the front doors. They had to stage from the roads. So this is something that is happening on a regular basis, and the language they gave us we feel is really sound and based on realistic expectations and realistic need for rescues and fire suppression to folks that are living in the rural areas and have those particularly long driveways. So we did do that. Instead of going line by line, if you want me to do that, I'd be glad to do that. But I can also just answer questions if that's preferred by the commissioners tonight.
Yeah, Brad, I don't believe, and if any of the commissioners want to correct me, I don't believe this will be passed tonight. I think there are some concerns with this. John, you had sent an email on some things.
Yeah, at you guys' instruction, we'd ask you guys to follow declaratory judgment action.
Right.
And then that wasn't moving, and so I went ahead and filed a declaratory judgment action. So that's waiting upstairs in the circuit court. We've published notice, I think, twice already in the Tribune Star, and we're going to publish it one more time. And it invites any interested party to brief us, because the concern I have for the commissioners, there's a statute that talks about powers that are specifically withheld to local governments. And one of the things specifically withheld is the ability to regulate something that the state is already regulating. And since your ordinance would have us regulating pipelines and regulating carbon sequestration, and the state's already given, I think it's the Department of Natural Resources and the Utility Regulatory Commission, the authority to regulate those things, I'm concerned that we would be in violation of that, and because the statute says we can't do it unless we can point to a statute that specifically gives us the authority to do that. And so that's why a couple times we ask you to bring your attorneys in here and point to those statutes, because I can't find them. So so that's why we're inviting the public. The people who are in favor of it can brief it. The people who are against it can brief it, and then the judge can read all that and tell us, would this be a legal thing for the commissioners to sign, or would it not be a legal thing for the commissioners to sign?
Very good points to bring up. We have identified a land use law attorney that would be helping on behalf of the Area Plan Commission. Communication is happening with that individual, get him up to speed. He is based out of the Fort Wayne area and has spent a long time land use law attorney, specializing in municipal representation. So we, like I said, started that communication. Home rule and some other pieces fall into play here. John, you're probably far more versed than I am, but my understanding is that when sometimes it's interpreted that the whole category is off limits. Sometimes it's interpreted as the specifics of that in that category are covered. So let's say that Indiana Building Code says that you do not have to have an eave on your house, but a local jurisdiction wants to require eaves on houses to prevent rain infiltration. So the point I'm trying to make is that because the building code is silent on that particular provision, the belief is that a local jurisdiction has the right to add that content because it's silent otherwise. You could also interpret it as, hey, we have a state building code. You can't do anything related to building codes as a municipality. But that's not the way it's played out. Communities do have building code amendments or additions where the building code is silent. And so for those reasons, we think that it's worth exploring and looking at. We are identifying specifics that are not clearly called out in the state statutes. So,
but there are bodies of law that specifically let local government regulate buildings. There's things like the unsafe building law that are specifically crafted so that a unit of local government can regulate those things. All I'm asking is let's get a ruling out of the court before we jump off of a cliff.
Yeah, we agree.
Either way, let's let everybody have a fair chance to tell the judge what they think the law says, and let the circuit court judge make a decision.
Sure, and that's where we left it. I think that was the guidance from the commissioners, is go ahead and leave it until we get that judgment from the local court here. But I also would argue one other thing, which is that we have other interests in carbon sequestration in the state, not just Wabash Valley. And they may be exempt because we have this language that's been added to our state statutes that specifically is targeting this project as a pilot project. That does not exempt or overrule these other companies. It doesn't give them permission to be in your county. So let's say the judge says that you cannot regulate this for Wabash because of this enabling legislation that's been put in our state code. The reality is that we have these other ones that are possibly lining up that we could regulate because they're not party to that agreement or that language that's in the statutes. So what we need to find out is, again, to John's point, is to understand that better. And our hope is to definitely do that. So with that being said, that is something that we know and knew before was unresolved. I'm committed, the Area Plan Commission's committed. I know your commissioners, you're also committed to making the changes if we're directed to do so by the courts. So at least the guidance that I was given several months ago when we met last and kind of gave your final input on this was to keep it in there until we get that declaratory judgment. So that's why it's in there still. Some other questions or concerns that you might have? And to your point, RJ, I know we weren't going to adopt this today. I knew you guys had a policy to introduce something, possibly do a first reading, but not do any final adoption. So we did not expect that today.
Commissioners, any comments or questions for Brad? No? Thank you for presenting, Brad. We'll definitely put this to the side right now while we wait on that judgment. And also, Commissioners, review that document. If there's anything you see in there that we would like to change, please send those to Penny or Brad or clarification. They can look at that for us.
Is there a court date on this?
John,
Well, we're gonna let the third publication run and then probably give about 30 days to see what attorneys enter their appearance, and then we might ask the court to set a court date at that point.
Okay.
What court is it gonna be in?
It's in the circuit court here.
Vermillion County.
Yeah.
All right, there's nothing else. Thank you, Brad.
All right, thank you.
Alrighty, moving on. Thrive West Central. I spoke to Ryan Keller last week, and Vermillion County has several board appointments that have not been made. Historically, in the past, one appointment is the commissioner president, which with Tim leaving here, I assume tomorrow or shortly, for the District 42 seat, we need to look at someone else for that, and I would recommend Misty Hess for that if she would be so kind to be the commissioner's designee for that board.
I will be.
Okay, is there any objection to Misty Hess taking that spot?
I approve.
All right, we'll do that by agreement. Misty Hess will be the commissioner's new delegate. Secondly, the commissioners also have a private sector appointment that is sitting vacant. It should be from one of the largest employers in the county. I know, Misty, you said you had talked to a few people you think might be interested in that.
I do. I have one in particular that's very interested in it, and I think she'd be a great asset to the Thrive. So I'm just waiting to actually finalize that conversation with her. So
Okay, awesome. Tim, likewise, if you have any recommendations for the private sector?
Not this time.
No? Okay. If you want to check with that, Misty, and then if they are willing to serve, we can get them appointed to that. Ryan definitely wants a full board, so we're trying to get him one as soon as possible.
Okay.
All right. If there's nothing else on that, we will move on. Next item on the agenda, corrugated metal pipe and high-density pipe N12 bid approval. These were bids that were given to us in December. They were tabled per recommendation from the Highway Department. I spoke to a couple days ago. They would like us to accept all bids presented to us, so that way they could buy from whoever they need to if somebody doesn't have something. So I'd look for a recommendation tonight to approve the bids. Misty, did you have a list of? I think there's 3 or 4 different ones in there. Is there a pack in there? Yeah. Well, that's fine. We can just do it by what was sent to us in December and what we opened during the meetings, because we haven't had no additional. Tim?
Did we have a question on that as far as we approved all of them for the gravel and the sand and gravel? Was there a restriction to the purchase of the material as pipe? Wasn't it we had to receive the lowest bid on it, correct? Or did we still have that variable there that we could buy it wherever we wanted to?
I thought you could buy pipe wherever you wanted. I thought we did have a deal with the one company that would keep a supply of pipe in the area so that when it was needed, it was available.
I thought there was something different with that last time we talked. It's fine. I
Not
don't
that
care.
I remember.
Yeah,
I like to give them the flexibility. I would, but
Yeah.
I just didn't know if it was legal or not.
Yeah. I think we've done that in the years past, just accepted them all. So I'll entertain a motion to accept all corrugated metal pipe and high density pipe and N12 pipe as presented in the December commissioners meeting.
Got no problem with that.
Is that a motion, Tim?
Yeah.
All right. Motion by Tim. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Misty. Any discussion? There's none. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Thank you. Moving on to new business. First one is 2025 Commissioners Meeting Schedule. During a lot of discussion in an email, a proposed date had been given of the first Tuesday of every month at 6 p.m. That would still be my recommendation tonight. Open the floor for recommendations, or we could approve that recommendation if the board would so choose.
I'll make a motion that we stick to that.
I have a motion to approve the county commissioners meeting schedule for 2025 to be the first Tuesday of every month at 6 p.m. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Tim. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Alrighty. John.
Said first Tuesday
Yep.
at 6 p.m.
6 p.m. Yep. And for discussion, we had on here about possibly having a second meeting to approve claims, but I also know we've approved claims for this month here. Do we need a second meeting, John, or can I go ahead and approve them at our next meeting in?
I think you could. I don't think there's a problem with it, and then you could just call a special meeting if something came up that needed more immediate approval.
Okay. So I mean, I could wait till February then to approve the claims. Okay.
When you say special meeting, I'd like to have some definition of that. The special meeting, when you look up the meaning special meeting, it says if the public meeting can be called if the public deemed it important to be called. And I'm trying to figure out where does special meetings actually fall under that clarification when it's talking about dealing with some public issue. Sounds to me that you have special meetings for. So I'm trying to figure out, I mean, we've done it in the past multiple times. I'm just trying to get some clarification on it.
I'm not aware of a case that defines exactly what's special and what's not special. What they're used for is when there's something that needs to be done prior to the regular meeting. We've always called special meetings.
But it says if the public deems so. In other words, if there's a reason, an important thing going on in the community, then you call a special meeting because the public needs it be done. So I'm just trying to get clarification. When you read that, is that?
I'm not aware of anything more than just what the statute itself says. I'm not aware of.
That's what I'm saying. The statute says if the public deemed a meeting need to be called,
Yeah.
that's a special meeting, and that's the wording in it. So I'm trying to figure out how we justify when we say a special meeting when that's the wording that I see in it.
I don't know. That's how they're used. When we have something that we don't want to wait for the next regular meeting, then you give your 24 hours or your 48 hours notice and you have a special meeting.
I'm just trying to get some clarification. Thanks.
All right. Moving on. Last thing, Tim, we have on here for the Commissioners Mentoring Program. We'd like to continue that. So if you can either give us the contacts or if you would like to get us the information, because we'd still like to do those 4 meetings a year. I think it's important to continue that program.
Okay.
So if you could forward that to me, Misty, or the auditor, your contacts, or if you'd still like to stay in touch and help with that, that's fine as well.
Okay.
Just don't want to see that program go away, so I just wanted to make sure we touch base on that.
Appreciate that.
Let's see, moving on. Courthouse closure and delays. We have before us some bad weather the last couple of weeks. Let's see, county ordinance number, what would this one be? 2025, would this be the first one?
Yeah.
Alrighty. Alright, let's see, now does this have both days on here? This is just for the one, right? John?
Yeah, there was a second closing that I was asked to draft an ordinance for.
Okay.
When I checked this afternoon, it wasn't ready yet.
Okay, that's fine.
We'll have it.
Okay, that's fine. Just want to make sure. If there's no objection by the board, we have a county ordinance number 2025-1, an ordinance closing the courthouse on January the 6th. I'll read it by title here. Whereas it has come to the attention of the Board of Commissioners of Vermilion County that emergency need existed to close the courthouse on January the 6th due to inclement weather. Therefore, the Board of Commissioners of Vermilion County, by its inherent authority, closed the Vermilion County Courthouse to the public on January 6, 2025. Would there be any objection to approving this ordinance on a first reading tonight? No. Do I have a motion to approve this county ordinance number 2025-1?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Misty. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Tim. Do I have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda. So just a little bit of a discussion. I'd sent out a little bit of a proposal. It's called Text My Gov proposal. Not looking for any approval tonight, but I wanted you guys to review that. It's come to our attention that a lot of people don't have easy access to public notice, whether it's on our county website, whether it's Eric Jones does a great job on Facebook, but if you don't follow Eric or see his stuff, you may not see meeting notices properly. This is a service kind of like Reach Alerts, kind of like NDOT. The county would pay X amount of dollars a year for a service. You would sign up for it as a public citizen and say, hey, I want updates from the sheriff's department, highway department, soil and water, and every department head would have access to send out messages. Board of Commissioners could say special meeting tonight. Sheriff's department could say, hey, don't drink and drive on St. Patrick's Day, whatever the case may be. So I think this is something the county should definitely consider, whether it's this company or Reach Alert or whatever the thing may be. I think it would definitely be an easy way to get things out to the public. It would take a little bit of a time to garner a, you want to call it, following per se. I think in the first few months you may only have 50 people signed up, but I think as the years go on, it could be a very good resource to get people out for APC meetings, any type of meetings really. So anyway, just more of a discussion to review that. And,
what is the system that the sheriff's department uses?
Sheriff's Department has something, I think it's called Nixle.
Yeah.
They've had it for a few years. I'm not sure that it's utilized a lot anymore. I know the sheriff's downstairs. It'd be a question for him. And I don't know if it's email or text either, but it would be similar to something like that.
What's the cost on that again?
This one here?
Yeah.
I want to say it's first year, let's see, setup fee. It looks like $6,500 a year for this specific program, but they've got several different ones, so that's just a flat one there. They've got some that's a little bit more money and has something to do with emergency management, where you can actually set something up where if you're signed up and you go into an emergency management zone that's been declared a natural disaster, you would get like a text. So some of that's a little bit more money, but anyway, yeah, just consider that. I've sent some to the council members as well and other elected office holders. I like their input on this as well, because we've always heard about public notice. So anyway, if there's no other discussion, we'll move on to the next. You guys have anything? No? All right, Todd Young, transportation vehicle.
Right now, I'm looking to move the department forward with transportation to the coroner's office.
Would you mind stating your name for the record, Todd?
Todd Young, coroner for Verlaine County.
Thank you.
Currently, I don't have a transport vehicle in place, and we're relying on other departments or other facilities to take care of that, funeral homes, et cetera. And moving forward, if we do it ourselves, over time, we'll save the county thousands of dollars throughout the years. And right now, I've got an offer for, not an offer, I have a vehicle that's available for purchase. It's a 23 Ford Transit van with 600 miles on it for $48,768. I'm asking your permission to go to the council for that kind of purchase.
Todd, can you, just for my recollection here, can you tell me what it costs like currently for the private? Because who were you using before?
Before I was using Clay.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it's
So funeral home.
$495 is what you charge Clay. Is that correct? $465. And then I'm working with others right now out of Vigo County and Sunset. We're looking over $500 to transport.
Okay.
So, and we average 10 to 12 a year at least. So, and I set aside $10,000 in the budget this year for transportation. And looking at it with what we're going to spend money ahead through the years, so we can recoup that with having our own vehicle.
Okay.
How many miles you say, and how much is the vehicle be used?
It would be only used on scenes when coroner's calls. We average about 100 calls a year. Not every case is a coroner's case, but we respond to over 100 calls a year currently. So it would depend upon, if it's a coroner's case, taking it to Terre Haute for autopsy or not. If it's not an autopsy case and still a coroner's case, we could facilitate transport to one of the funeral homes if necessary. And the other thing of it is first responders not standing by on scene waiting for transport to get there once we're there. Because once we determine what it is, then we have to make a phone call.
So Todd, would this vehicle be used strictly for transport only, or would it be a vehicle like a sheriff's department vehicle that would be used for?
It'll be used for on call as we're called out. It wouldn't be used for personal use.
Okay, that's what. Yeah. Okay. Commissioners, any other questions for? Todd, personally, just from my standpoint, I would like to see before I would approve something like this. Like the vehicle you're talking about, that information provided in an email, maybe like a proposal sent to us, because I'm sure the council is going to want to see that stuff as well.
Right.
You know, and we want to make sure. And if you could also provide, I know you said 10 to 12 transports a year.
Or more. It just
Yeah,
depends.
well, yeah, depending on. I wouldn't mind seeing like the last 2 years, 3 years, or maybe under Dr. Wheat, the last 4 years of how many, you know, so we could look at the numbers and compare. All right, it's going to cost $48,000 a year.
We'll have to I have to go to the auditor's office, get those.
Yeah.
records. It's not a problem.
And I think we could definitely, you know, review that stuff. But that's just my opinion. You know, if the other commissioners would like to move on something tonight, that's up to them. But I would like to see some of that data myself, just to be able to tell the council, hey, we really believe in this. And the 48,000 on, I assume that doesn't include like decals and marking the
No,
vehicle.
that's just the cost of the vehicle.
Yeah,
And it's
because I assume it
virtually-
would have to be marked as well. We would want
Yeah,
that.
I'd want it marked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, for sure. Commissioners, any comments? Agree? Disagree?
I agree with what you stated.
Okay. Yeah, if you could get that
I'll get
stuff
you-
to
I'll
us.
get you that.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to shut the door or anything yet, but at the same time, we want to review all that stuff.
Sure.
So, yep. All right. Thank you, Tom. All right. Next on the agenda, we have canceling AOD contract. It's come to my attention, and I'm sure the rest of the Board of Commissioners' attention, that the auditor is not using or does not plan on using the AOD system that has been in place since sometime last year. I want to say within the last 6 months of 2024. You got, I think in your packet here, an ordinance to repeal it, a copy of the old ordinance and a copy of the contract, what it was paid for. So before we move on any of that, if there's any discussion from the commissioners?
I just have a question, because John, I talked to you about this, and you said it did not pertain to this. And I talked to you about ordinance repeal.
Did you hear him?
I talked to you the other day, is this an ordinance to repeal it? Is our ordinance repeal it, or just a vote?
The
to-
ordinance that I drafted was from the last meeting where you guys voted to get rid of, when the power had been transferred from the Economic Development Commission to the Economic Development Department. You guys voted to repeal the ordinance that did that. So I drafted an ordinance to repeal it.
Okay.
Based on what you guys voted and essentially told me to do by your vote, I
Okay.
got the document ready.
But this has nothing to do with the AOD system?
No.
Okay. That's all I can take, okay.
Do you have any other comments on the AOD, Tim? No? Misty, do you have any?
I mean, before we vote, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, if there's a motion on the floor, we'll have discussion again, but before we get to a possible motion or second, didn't know if there's any other comments about this AOD system before we...
I just want to say I agree with it being put in, and I think it's the best for the community. Everything takes a while to get organized. It ain't gonna be something that's gonna happen totally real quickly to get done. I've talked to different people and office holders, and I do have one thing that say they seem like they need some more training, which I think is only fair, and I know that that can be provided for them. But other than that, I think it's a very good contract. It holds, I think, people more responsible. It's more accurate, and to see this go away, I think would be a step going backwards instead of forward.
All right. And John, correct me if I'm wrong, it's my understanding the payroll and HR currently how we have it is underneath the auditor's office. So if that department head chooses not to use this system that the county has invested in, that is their choice as the auditor. So I think, you know, is that true?
I mean, the suggestion I'd make would be to always check with the State Board of Accounts
Yep.
to make sure that whatever method is being used is, because they're the ones that have the ability to come back 2 or 3 years down
Yep.
the road, perform an audit and say, aha, you didn't do this exactly how we want you to.
Yep.
So the overarching answer would be yes, but I would do so with consulting with the state.
Yeah,
first.
for sure. Yep.
So,
And Misty, you could attest this, the SBOA has spoke to you guys, and what you guys are doing or propose to doing is State Board of Accounts approved. Okay, good. I think this is a simple thing here tonight. If the department head's not going to use this, the county is going to continue to pay for this system. So if we're gonna pay for it and we're not utilizing it, that's just wasting money for the county government. So it would be my opinion tonight that the commissioners repeal Vermilion County Ordinance number 2024-5, where, let's see here. Oh, you can say it by title. Whereas it has come to the attention of the Board of Commissioners of Vermilion County that not all employees are recording their working time through attendance on demand. And the ordinance goes on to say that basically the employees are required to use that. So if there's support for that, we can move on that tonight.
So if, there's somebody who wants to speak.
Rick, during our new commissioners meetings, we're reserving public comment for the beginning and the end.
I spoke to the auditor today, and I got a different opinion from the auditor.
Oh, Rick, that's fine. We have public comment at the beginning and the end, so after we get through
I'll have
this.
a comment at the end.
That's fine, thank you. So basically, the ordinance says that all county employees are required to use the OD system. So if the auditor's telling people not to use it, it's kind of a back and forth where they're saying they're not utilizing, but yet the county says we have a rule in place saying they have to use it. And then for HR payroll, that causes some confusion where, say, you have 10 employees using one system and then 10 employees using a different system, and we don't want that.
You're saying we don't want it. I'm saying that it's according to what the people want, and the people here, the majority of the people in the county wants this done. And the reason why they want it done because it brings more accountability. It's a better system to take care of all that. I mean, I work at Duke Energy, and I go in and fill out my time card and click it in and put my hours in. My hours go every place it's supposed to go. And it brings it all back up. You push a button, you get it. The supervisor gets the stuff, he pushes the button, approves it. All the stuff is there. I know in the past at District 2 Garage, I brought up the other day, we used to take and do old-fashioned accounting work. You'd take and enter it here, and then to go and enter it here, and then take and enter it here. And this is something that needs to be done. I think it makes the county more professional. It brings more accountability. And it needs to be done. It needs to stay there, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, the other thing with this is there is issues with the system. If you talk to people that's actually utilizing it, it is actually recording more time for employees than they're actually working. That's a problem. It's a problem for the entire county. So yeah, some people have said they enjoy the system because they
have some.
And well, they're occurring more comp time now that they ever have because it's, well, anyway.
I'd have to say, if we say something about something's going on, then I need to prove documentation to you that what I'm saying is true. And I think that what you're saying, please show me the documentation of who said this, and so we can look at it.
Tim, I can show you that in an email.
That needs to be shared with us before we make a decision.
Misty, any other comments?
So I know that it's been addressed to me this past week and a half, I think, about the time clock being utilized in AOD, and I've met with several people on December 23rd about the AOD system. I think we have 50-50 where people like it and there's people that don't like it. I think a lot of it is, I've been told that a lot of the problem is there wasn't a voice from the people in the courthouse that wanted to use the system, and that a system was decided on to use. And then on July 5th or 7th, whatever that date might be, I can't remember the date, that it was implemented that Monday. There was not enough training on it, is what I've been told. So then people are frustrated because, one, they didn't have a voice to make a decision. Two, they were frustrated because they weren't trained properly. I know that I've been told both ways. So in saying that, here's what I typed up, and I'll just read it because I know there's lots of people that's texted me and feel that I need to be on one side or the other, but here's how I feel about it. So it's no secret that I'm opposed to using paper time cards, because that's true. I think paper time cards are silly. To me, reverting to handwritten time cards would be a step backward, not forward. Such a system introduces room for human error, something we all know is inevitable. Additionally, hand calculating paper time cards is extremely time consuming. Not only does this burden the staff responsible for processing payroll, but it also requires someone else to perform a thorough audit for checks and balances, further compounding the inefficiency. While I strongly believe in moving forward, we need a timekeeping system that works for everyone and ensures consistency across the board. I've previously shared my belief that our current time clock system likely has capabilities for beyond what we are currently utilizing. To address the issues being raised, I suggested forming a task force made up of individuals who use the system daily. Their input would be instrumental in reviewing the current system's functionality and determining what changes or improvements are necessary. During my discussions with several departments, it became clear that the current system is a significant source of frustration. Employees have reported issues such as inaccurate calculation of hours and comp time, and the system requiring employees to clock in and out even when working in the field, which creates logistical challenges. I also reviewed an email sent to employees on Friday, July 5th, announcing that the system would go live the following Monday, July 8th. From what I understand, this was no input from departments, no training provided, employees were not given a voice in the process. I believe that if employees had been engaged during the implementation phase, there would have been much greater buy-in and acceptance of the system. Moving forward, I strongly recommend we form a task force composed of representatives from each department who regularly use the system, conduct a comprehensive review of the current system's capabilities and issues, implement employees training to ensure everyone fully understands the system's functionality, incorporate employee feedback into any decision-making process for timekeeping systems to ensure fairness and efficiency, ensure consistency in the application and use of whatever timekeeping system we choose so all employees are treated equally and fairly. My goal is not to address the concerns, but to ensure that we have a system that meets everyone's needs, functions effectively, is applied consistently, and minimizes inefficiency like those associated with manual timekeeping. So that's how I feel about the time system. But what I hear is that we're not, if the auditor's not going to use it, it's more about we don't want to pay for that as a county. Is that correct?
No, it's not.
Yeah, so the system, if they're not going to utilize the system, there is a fee from LAO to use that system. And LAO is still being used for other parts of county government. It's not that they're not being used for other stuff. So if and I agree with your statement, I think buy-in should have been there. It shouldn't have been something that was just done here. Let's do this. Let's push it. But yeah, I think for me, it's a matter of, it's not being used. Mr. Lau has repeatedly said that, you know, if you're not going to use it, you might as well cancel it because it's going to cost the county funding. Unless Mr. Lau is speaking wrong, that's my understanding from him. He's one of the owners of the company. So yeah, again, mine still stand that I think the ordinance needs repealed. Doesn't say that we still cannot create a 5-member, 7-member, 3-member thing. We have like a health insurance committee, same deal. And, you know, they review the health insurance. We don't have one person that does it. So yeah, I think tonight, to Misty's point, I would like to say 5 or 7 members and ask that people of county government reach out to us on who would like to serve on that. And the commissioners will appoint, what would you say, 5, 7 guys? Any recommendations? We got quite a few. We got quite a few. I would say we can go 7. 7's a good number. We'll go 7. Any department heads or members of Vermilion County government, please email the auditor or the Board of Commissioners if you'd be interested in serving on something like that. And like Misty said, we'll go through a comprehensive review. But tonight I would like to address the county ordinance, where's that? 2024-5, because that's the one that's kind of not working well with current payroll, where some people still want to use the system and others have already agreed and is doing what the auditor has asked.
So, can I ask a question?
Absolutely, Tim.
So back to this question I made. I'm trying to figure out how this goes on. I'm getting a little bit confused. So we're taking it. You're taking a vote to rescind it, right? That's the question we have.
The question would be for Vermilion County Ordinance 2024-5 that was approved 2-1 on September 2024 would be to repeal that ordinance, because that ordinance is requiring all county employees to use the OD time system. which contradicts with what the county auditor is telling people to do for payroll currently.
So there's an ordinance prepared to rescind that, right? Is that what you're?
No, the
The
ordinance
ordinance was from the last meeting. when we
That's what
voted.
I've done heard about that one. I'm talking about this here. This is just a
So-
motion to,
So if you guys vote to do this, then sometime between now and the next meeting, I will draft an ordinance that says you're repealing that ordinance, and I'll do like I did with the last one, I'll
Yeah.
email it to the auditor.
Yeah, the one you see in your packet, the last one is for the economic development.
okay.
All right, so is there any support or non-support for repealing County Ordinance 2024-5?
I mean, it doesn't make sense to pay for something if we're not going to be
Utilizing it?
utilizing it, in my opinion. But
Yeah, I would agree.
Tim,
We're saying I hear a lot of talk about, you've talked to different people and everybody's talked to different, have you talked to all of them to get a general consensus from all of them? You talk to some of them, say no, some of them say yes, but where is that at? Is it half of them? I mean, if you guys did your research, I've talked to a couple, I can't say I've talked to all of them.
yeah.
So I haven't, I can't.
Honestly, I've talked to several people within the courthouse system and department heads and individual. I had a couple when I had my meeting. I spent my entire day here on December 23rd meeting with folks, and I think I met with two people that were like, "Oh, it's a great system, it's a good system," and then the other ones that I met with, all of them pretty much said that it didn't work. It doesn't work in the field that logistically, it doesn't work for them when they're out in the field working. So to me, I've had more complaints of the system versus positive. Now,
and I would agree with that statement. I've had more than over half people say the system is not working well for them, and a lot of these people won't come out and publicly say that. They're going to speak privately of that. So yeah, that's
So moving forward, if this is rescinded tonight, so you're planning on having another board to study the issue, and are you going to come up with the same solution, or you think it's going to come up where there's not going to be no accountability?
Well, I think to say there's no accountability, Tim, is I don't think that's the right statement. Well, okay, for the grand scheme of things, to say that we had some glaring issue of people turning in wrong amounts of comp time, and that's what pushed this system. I've been against the system from day one because there was no real push on why we needed the system. If someone could show me that we had 3, 5, 10 employees that disregarded comp time or didn't do things correctly, but that wasn't the case. What we have now, we have employees that are missing comp time. We have issues that are previous to this administration and back several years ago that isn't being done correctly. So if anything, I think things have maybe gotten worse in some regards with the system. So Tim, to answer your question, I don't know what this committee of 7 will come up with, but I do think if the county would have actually had buy-in, would have been proactive and not said, 3 people have done some research, we're going to this system. If we would have had the buy-in from the workers here at the courthouse, sheriff's department, highway department, but instead the county jumped face first in for $50,000, $48,000, not to mention the cost of some of the equipment at the highway garages. So I think the county, if anything, has learned a valuable lesson, is that before you jump into something like this, I think we need to be very certain that's what we want to do. Nedra Tilley came up here in July or June of last year and said, and I quote, well, I won't quote because I don't have it in front of me, I'll paraphrase, had asked the auditor about implementation, about how was it going to be carried on with the new auditor, and no one could answer that question. So it really seems like this was pushed in for 6 months of last year. I think there should have been a lot more research done, a lot more implementation done, and a lot more buy-in. So if anything, I think the county's learned a valuable lesson here tonight. But I don't want to see the county spend any more money than we have to, and if the system is not going to be used, I would like to see us repeal this so we can save some funding for the county.
I'm not, the whole thing about it is bring us up to a situation where we can do work in modern times. And like I said, everybody hear me?
Can't hear you.
I said the whole thing is moving forward. If I just don't agree with going backwards. I know everyone around here has agreed that we don't need to go backwards. We are going backwards. This is a system that we bought, we purchased it, and it ain't perfect. It still needs training. I agree with that. I've talked to people, it needs training. But it's there for a purpose. It makes accounting a lot more simpler. And I just, unless you have something, I just fear that from this that this will be repealed tonight and it won't come back. I just don't think it will. But like I said, I think that we've made agreement here, and I've talked to them too. And after talking to them, the training is not there. We do not have the one here in the office that did that training. I know that the former auditor was providing time for the new auditor to come in to learn a lot of this stuff, and that was not accepted. So that's another issue I think that we have too. So that's what I'm saying.
All right, we're not gonna dig into the weeds of all that. So anyway, again, my opinion is we don't want to spend money on a system that's not going to be utilized. So with that, I will make a motion to repeal Vermilion County Ordinance number 2024-5 by title, Attendance on Demand AOD Ordinance in August of 2024. Do I have a second for the motion?
I will second it, but I do want to talk about it really quick, just
Absolutely.
because it is important that we have a system in place that I talked about earlier. We have to have a system that's going to calculate, that's not going to be a nightmare for the people for payroll. If that's AOD, then that's AOD. But I think there has to be training in place for that. I think that we should be training, they should have been trained before it was implemented. And I don't know the reasons why it wasn't, and that's not my, like, I'm starting fresh here, so I'm not gonna point any fingers or say anything bad about that. But I am gonna agree that we need to rescind that. If he's not gonna use it, doesn't make sense to keep it there. So I'm gonna second the motion.
Okay. Any other discussion before vote? There's none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed?
All right, motion carries 2-1 to rescind County Ordinance 2024-5. Okay, moving on to the next.
You'd asked me to give you an answer when I found it on that. The 60% rule is different than the eminent domain rule.
Okay.
So the early drafts, and the statute is 14-39-2-4, and I emailed you guys a copy of it. It talks about consolidation of interest, that if a carbon sequestration company gains control of 60% of the pore space, then they can apply to the Department of Natural Resources for an order ordering all of the people within that area to consolidate their interest and develop it as a carbon sequestration area. The eminent domain is a totally separate section. It's actually older. This was the 60% stuff came around in 2022. And when the law actually got enacted, though, the reason I was having a hard time finding it, when the law got enacted, the legislature upped that to 70%. Okay. So it wasn't coming up when I was searching for that stuff, but it's two different things, but it is in there.
Okay.
So, but I don't think it prohibits them from sending a threatening letter.
Okay.
It might not be something people like, but I don't see where there's something that says they can't do that.
Could you state that again?
The statute, 14-39-2-4 is what I think is what they're referring to.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Clay, did you get that ordinance, or not that ordinance, that thing as well? Okay.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Okay, so we've done the ordinance 2024-5. I guess that's kind of backwards then. Okay, so then the next one would be, I have on here, is cancel AOD contract. So now that we've addressed the ordinance, we have a contract with Lau Associates. Again, you can keep it, but if it's not being used, still paying money. So this, if we canceled the ordinance, then to me, it signifies that we're going to be canceling the Lau Associates contract with Andrew Lau. So do I have a motion on the floor to cancel the advanced time contract with Lau Associates?
So what's going to happen with this equipment we have?
Well, Tim, that's a good question. I guess we'll have to call Lau Associates and ask them if it's ours or was it leased. I don't have answers to those questions. If we own it, I guess we'd have to ask them if they'll buy it back off of us. I don't know.
Big mistake.
Well,
Big mistake.
anyway, all right. Do I have a motion to cancel the contract with Lau Associates as presented?
So what if we put the task force together and the people say we want to use this? So can we go back to them and ask them, like, what is that process?
That's really backward.
I mean, I guess in theory you could not cancel the advanced time contract. However, you're still going to be paying the money. So I guess at the minimum, what we done tonight with the ordinance was giving the auditor, I don't want to say flexibility, but telling these employees that, hey, we are using this system now, and HR is not going to have two different systems that they're doing payroll on. So that's at the minimum. I still stand by that, we don't need to pay this. However, if the majority of the board wants to still stay under contract with advanced time and hold stuff, I guess you could, in theory, do that. And you could, yeah.
The biggest problem I think we have with this, and I think we all agree, I agree they need more training, and I don't believe it has been, we have a system here that's workable, and we haven't took the time to make it workable. We're blaming everybody else for what's happened, and that's fine if you want to do that, but we have something in place that can be used, and we're saying we just don't want to use it. Instead of trying to figure out it need more training and put some time in it to see if it really works. We're just throwing this away, what we're doing, without really taking the time to really try to develop it. And I think that's a bad way to get rid of something when you haven't really tried to make it work. Once you try to make it work and it don't work, then I understand that too. But to take that large of an investment and say, I just don't like it, by hearing from some people without really putting time and effort. Any system you put in here is going to take time to implement. It's going to take time for people to understand it. It's going to take time to be trained. And I just think we're taking money and throwing it away without really taking time to at least try to understand it and see if we can make it work. And so that's what we're doing now. We're throwing something away where we haven't really spent the time, and I admit it, that we haven't spent enough time to have the training as much as what we should to really find out if this really works. And I just don't like to say we're not going to use it just because we don't want to use it. Why don't we find out if we can use it? The question is, you're going to throw money away without really taking the time to find out if it's going to work. And I don't think we've done that.
Misty, thoughts?
I mean, I pretty much have shared my thoughts on all of it, so I don't know how much more I can share about it.
Well, the question on the floor is,
my thoughts?
Rick, at the time of public comment, you can. Again, under this new administration, we're not having any discussion outside of public comment.
I'm a council member.
I understand that, but we're having structured our meetings, and
I'll honor that.
okay, thank you. We don't want to get things out of control in the meeting, and we're going to have structure. So beginning and end, we'll accept those comments. Question on the floor again remains, is there support to cancel the OD contract? If there is not, the county will still be paying for this system. However, the auditor has already signified to us that they will be using a different system approved by the SBOA. So I guess if you want to leave this and still pay for it, that's an option before the board tonight.
So in other words, this decision is because the auditor does not want to use it. It's not because of any other reason, because the auditor does not want to use it.
No, this has came up, Tim, because the auditor is not using the system and is not going to use it. So why would the county pay for a system that's not being utilized? And again, implementation of last year from July for 6 months, it was pushed forward. If we want to do proper training, we should have done that last year. So anyway, again, I'll leave it to the majority of the board. My opinion is that we cancel this contract. I don't want to see the county waste money, but if we want to hold on to it, get a board of 7 together and have them look at it, I guess you can, but I just want the citizens to know that we are paying for something that's not being utilized. So that is the only.
So we pay a monthly fee of $875. Is that what we pay per month for this? According to what I'm looking at, or am I not looking at the right thing?
Yeah, it looks like that. $875 is about $10,500 a year. Yeah.
After it's billed under 6 months, we're getting ready to pay 6 months again on this actual.
Yeah.
Because you have to wait till the end. Say something.
Yeah, that's,
I said no comment.
so,
I was not given the privilege, and I hold basically the same opportunity.
Rick, he was responding as the auditor to a question the commissioner had.
I'm
But we,
responding as a councilman.
but we didn't have a question for any council members or any public.
You allowed Ron, which I appreciate you giving him an
I
opportunity.
did not.
You did not me.
I,
I just
same,
want that noted.
thank you, Rick. Thank you.
Can I say something?
Tim, you know?
I believe that this progression of operating here is unfounded. I believe it's unacceptable. When we have something to decide, when you quiet the person's voice who wants to have something be a part of that decision making before you make that decision making, I do not think it's proper procedure.
Tim,
do what you want.
Tim,
I'm just voicing my concern the way I feel that government should work. It's fine, you don't do it. I just want to voice my concern. Thank you.
Tim, in the last 4 years, Tim, in the last 4 years, our commissioner meetings have had no decorum. They have gotten out of control, and that's what I'm going to bring to the commissioners. We're going to have proper procedures during meetings, and if you want to discuss, there's public comment at the beginning and end.
It's called respect.
Tim, everybody respects everybody, but we are not going to let our meetings, commissioners' meetings, get out of control. You can smirk, you can smile, but that's how we're going to run these meetings.
No, it's true, RJ.
It's not. That's how we're going to run these meetings. You run things differently. That's fine. That's not the case in
So this
2025.
bill's paid every 6 months. Is that how this bill's paid? Do we know?
Um,
Or is it?
I
paid
don't
monthly?
personally know. Misty, would you know if it's paid?
Do you know? So is that
This one here.
Good. Thank you. Yeah, I have here an attendance on demand from July 2024 through December of 2024, billing of $5,655. So if they do the same billing that they've done there, then yes, it would be billed in 2 6-month increments. Here. Okay.
wow. So I really would like to see what the system does. But of course, if we don't use it, it doesn't make sense to pay for it. So I'm a little torn. That's where I'm at.
Well, do we have any recommendations then?
I mean, that's $5,600 that we would pay.
Question for the auditor's office. Has the $6,000 already been paid for 2025? No? Has not? Okay. I guess it hasn't been paid yet, but again, I'll leave it up to the majority of the board. I'm still in favor of not paying the $6,000 for a system we're not going to use. However, if the majority feels that $6,000 is a small price to pay to have a board of 7 look at this in the next couple of months, we can do that. So I'll leave that up to the discretion of the board. Tim, any more comments or?
You said several times it's something we're not going to use. It's something that the auditor's not going to use.
Well, the auditor handles HR payroll, so when I say we, that is the county speaking, that they're not going to use it for HR payroll.
But this is based on the auditor saying they don't want to use it.
The auditor is not using the system.
Okay.
Correct.
Right, okay.
Correct.
I still believe you ought to give it a try and really try to make it work, and if it don't work, then make a decision.
Okay.
the system works.
Well, if you wanna wait, Misty, we could hold off on canceling the AOD contract. Just know that it's $6,000. So we can do that. We can assemble the board of 7. But since we did cancel or repeal the county ordinance, the auditor should instruct any county employees that are still using the AOD system that they are not required by ordinance to do that anymore. And whatever the auditor says they're using for payroll, they should abide by that and work with the auditor on that. So if I'm hearing the opinion that we would like to wait on canceling this AOD contract, would that be a fair assessment to say?
Can I say something here? We have,
I think we need to look at it.
Okay. Go ahead.
I think that we need to have input from those involved in this. The council needs to weigh in this, have another meeting like you were saying to talk about this. And when you suppress people who can't have input on something, it don't work. And what I'm saying is I'm saying it should be tabled and it should have time for those involved and those that want to come and talk about this.
Well,
everybody's voice needs to be heard. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and as Misty just said, she'd like to give it a little bit of time, and you do as well, so that's fine. The majority takes that. So we will not be canceling the AOD contract at this time. However, as we stated, the county auditor can inform those office holders or department heads that are still using AOD that they are not required by county ordinance to do that anymore. And we would instruct all county department heads and offices to use and comply with whatever system HR and the auditor's office is using at a current time. And to piggyback on what we said earlier, we are creating a board of 7 to look at this. So if anybody in county government, sheriff's department, extension offices would like to serve, please email the commissioners or the auditor's office, and we will get that board assembled sooner than later.
Could I make a mention with the board that you assemble that at least 2 people be from the public? Minimum of 2 people. When you have decision-making by all the people in that decision-making that are involved in it, then you don't get a true representation of how that decision needs to be made. And I recommend a minimum of 2 people from the public sector be involved in that.
Well, Tim, I would probably disagree with that statement a little bit. I think public is always good, and the officials here are representation of government, elected officials are. We don't have anybody on the public on our health department, insurance, and that's a huge cost to the county, over $1 million. So I would like to see it be county employees. These are affecting county employees. They're the ones utilizing it. If we want input, then the input needs to come from the employees, probation department, sheriff's department, highway, courthouse employees. I don't want to take up 2 spots on this board and I respect the public's opinion. I always have, always will, but this system is specifically for county employees. So they're the ones, in my opinion, that need to be providing us with this feedback and information.
It's also for the public too.
Whole county government's for the public, Tim, everything is.
The public needs to have comment on things of this situation.
They have all of our phone numbers and emails. The meetings are live streamed. They can be more than happy to reach out to us with any comments, concerns, or questions they have.
I'm just making a recommendation.
I understand.
Strike it down if you want to, but I recommend
understand.
at least 2 members of that board be from the public, or at least try to be.
During the task force, and I just want to be clear, is they may or may not decide to use AOD. They could look at other systems as well. I just think a paper time card system is taking us back, and that's just my personal opinion about it. So.
Missy, did you have any opinion on the 7 members, 2 being public, or all 7 being from county government and extension county government?
I think it needs to be the people utilizing the
systems. Okay, so the board of 7 will be 7 members from county government, extension offices, sheriff's department, courthouse. Again, we'll reiterate, please send an email to the auditor's office or commissioners. We will get this board assembled sooner than later. Okay, well, that's settled on that.
So are you keeping the ordinance in place?
No, we repealed county ordinance.
Okay.
You have a copy of it, John?
I just need the number. I got it right
2024-5. Okay. All right, we'll move on to the next item on agenda. Auditor, credit card for auditor. Anything to say on it, or are you just requesting?
No, it was Brenda.
Here, come up to the podium, state your name.
Ron Donovan, Marine County Auditor. There's a lot of other things, I guess, since I finally come to the podium. Can I say anything else about this system, or I can't?
I would prefer.
And since I am the secretary to the commissioners, I should be allowed to speak anytime that I need to, Mr. Costello.
And
Thank you.
that's
Yeah,
and that's,
yes, I am the secretary. Yeah.
all right. We have a line item for credit card, so I'd prefer you leave that.
There,
We have
there
public
is
comment after that.
no current credit card for the auditor's office.
Okay.
Brenda Furry stopped the last one at the end of December.
Okay.
So.
And what, I mean, on a credit card, how much are limitations? I mean, what do you need on it?
I don't have any idea. I really don't.
What was the previous
I mean,
one?
I
don't
Well,
know.
most
I don't know, I'm just asking.
First,
would ask
so the
them
ones that had
I
it,
would make it like it was for Brenda.
whatever she had was fine.
Yeah.
It's used for all these conferences and that everybody goes to. You have to have a card to seal that for commissioners and
I agree.
recorders and
I
treasurers. and
just want to know what the limit,
everybody
and
else.
if you got a credit card, what the type of.
I believe
agreement
with
is.
First Financial Bank, there necessarily isn't a limit because the commissioners have one, and I don't believe there's a limit on that gets paid every month when it comes in. Probation has one. I think the judge's office has one. Well, before we go down too much, is there any objection to giving permission to the county auditor to get a credit card from First Financial Bank?
I don't have a problem. I just wonder what the limitation is. I mean,
And he can check on that, but I believe First Financial has a standard thing for county government because we have multiple in the county. But he can provide that.
Like I said, I don't need one personally. This is basically for everybody that's going to conferences and everything else. So that has to be run through the auditor's office and paid for. So
I understand why you need it. We've used it in the past, but I need to know myself is what is the limit on that credit card? And that's not
know.
being disrespectful. I mean, we've had limits before.
I would say that whatever it was for the auditor
whatever
previously,
previous.
that's what we need to make it for him.
Yeah. And I would follow up, well, first, if there's no objections to that, to the approval of that.
As long as the limitation is at the same as it was before.
Perfectly fine. By agreement, we agree that the same limit be set. Reach out to First Financial Bank. But I would like to follow up a little bit on that credit card. I spoke to a manager out at First Financial Bank, and in the past, for instance, the Vermilion County Board of Commissioners have a credit card. It says Board of Commissioners, and it has my name on it, or Commissioner Yoakum's. It has a name on it. Then it's maybe mine. I don't know. Yeah, one of us has a name on it. And it's not personally for us. It strictly states that the county can dispute charges if somebody else uses that card. So in the past, you know, like we have an ordinance or resolution somewhere in the county that states if a card is to be used, is to be signed out, and et cetera, et cetera. Well, the commissioner's credit card has been used for multiple offices, health department, this office, this office. I would like to ask the board that each department, if they want to use a card, they should come get permission, have their own. Instead of having one card float around the county that's deemed to the commissioners, that now goes to health department, now goes to highway, now goes to treasurer. Shouldn't be the case. If they need something, that department had to be responsible for it. Just like today, the auditor comes and asks for one. I think we should, if there's an agreement to that tonight, instruct all county offices if they would like one to come and ask for permission, and then they go get one for their office.
I would agree with that, but I would say that there would need to be guidelines on what you use that for.
For sure.
I know I work at another, I work somewhere else as well, and there are strict guidelines, what you can buy and what you can't buy. So I would, as long as that's in place, I would say that would be fine.
Okay.
So with this credit card, who oversees it? You use it, and then who approves your claims that you have?
well, I assume I will. I mean, I don't
No, I'm
know who else is
saying-
going to approve it.
When it comes in here,
Yeah.
we sign the claim, so who signs the claims?
So it'd be the same as any other department head. You know, if the treasurer goes to
I
a
guess I'll have to
conference.
go back and see how Brenda done hers, I guess. 'Cause like I said, this credit card's not really for me. I mean, it's
I
just,
understand.
you know, it's just a requirement basically, unless we're gonna go, unless the council or the commissioners wanna handle this a different way. I mean, make everybody pay for all their conferences they go to, and
I have no
they can
problem. I
turn in
just wanna make
claims,
sure
we'll
we're
pay
okay.
them, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I ask.
It's no problem. We've approved
So-
it. No problem.
All
Reach
right.
out to them. All right. Before we get to public comment, we had an amendment to the agenda for health board. We had 3 members submitted to us in a previous email, it was back in December, by the mayor. Those names are as follows: Judy Howard, Jennifer Stevens, and Marcy Fowler. All 3 good candidates. The health board's a different type of board. You have to have not a majority of Republicans or Democrats on that, so it's very, I don't want to say different, but it is when it comes to appointing. Judy Howard has served on the board. She's she's a nurse, a very good candidate. I would like to make a motion to approve and appoint Judy Howard to the Vermilion County Health Board as the mayor's appointment. Do I have any second on the motion?
Second it.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, thank you. Misty, if you wouldn't mind notifying Wendy Farley that Judy had been appointed tonight for the Clinton mayor appointment. And then before we get to public comment, one last thing, solid waste, all 3 commissioners serve on that board, and we had a meeting this morning. Either the commissioners serve or their delegate serves. I've served on the board for several years, continue to serve. Pending a new commissioner here in the next few weeks, we will have a new commissioner serve on that for Commissioner Yoakum or his delegate. And I want to ask Misty tonight if she plans on serving or if you have a delegate.
I actually have a delegate.
Okay,
that
and
I'm
this
going to
is
appoint.
okay. So for the record, Ashley Peffley will serve as Misty has his delegate to the Vermilion County Solid Waste Board, and we welcome her to that. Okay, I think that's. Does anybody else have any other business before we go to public comment?
Yes, I requested to have on the agenda, it was coming in just the other day, for appropriation for the ambulance from the Park County. I submitted that. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, that was sent an email to him, and I didn't get a chance. I seen that late. Was it yesterday?
Yeah, I just got on top of that. I talked to Park County, and they want to know when that can be paid. They're very lenient. They've been very good to us, but I would like to get that pushed on through for the council.
Yeah, so, yeah, I read your email, and I'd read Ashley James' email as well. Ashley had sent out saying, you know, asked for an additional $50,000. I think she thought our meeting wasn't going to be until after their council meeting, but ours is on the first Tuesday, which will be before their council meeting in February. We have no fixed number yet. I spoke to Julie multiple occasions, and I asked her if this was a pressing issue, if this needed to be done immediately. She said no. I told her that my opinion was that I wanted to see some firm numbers before we asked for an additional. We could ask for 50, but if we only need 25, you know, I'd rather see this full report she's working on. So Tim, my opinion is that we wait until Julie Lanzone provides this full report to us. She told us that they are willing to work with us and wait, and that she understood wanting to see full numbers and accurate numbers instead of just approving an arbitrary number for the council to approve.
The number so far is an accurate number of a bill we owe. And
But
that bill, let me finish, please. I talked to Roy Reitzman, who's president of the council, on the council there, and he asked that I submit this bill to be paid and would like to have it paid probably within 30 days. And so I think with our dealing with Park County, an ambulance service has been remarkable. And dealing with the council, I think we need to be very open with them. And if they ask this, it's something we owe, and we need to pay it. And we need to pay it in a timely manner. So that's where I'm at on it.
Okay, Tim, again, this was sent to us yesterday for the Board of Commissioners. Like most things, we like a week to set our agenda. I've spoke to Julie Lanzone. They said this is not a pressing matter and that she would like to give us the full accurate amount, and I would agree with that. I have no accurate amount in front of me. I have the email that you sent.
That was the accurate amount of the bill that we owe.
Okay, and I talked to Julie, and she said that that number was not accurate, and maybe she's including different numbers than that. But I, again, would like to wait for this full report before we
I think that the thing here we need to figure out is who's supposed to be talking to who and who is the responsible person. And I think that's our problem. I've dealt with Park County for years on this, and I'm acting from the financial side of Park County. And like I said, I'll be gone after tonight, so I don't know what we're going to do anyway.
Tim, I understand, but again, we have
We can call a
have-
special meeting to resolve this then. If it's not the time thing, call a special meeting to get it resolved for appropriation.
I just want to extend my email to you. Ashley James, President of County Council. I did ask for the 50,000 and suggested that because if, given the timing difference, if we did need to pay that in advance, when you approve it at your meeting in February, it still has to be advertised for 10 days. So we would not be able to act on it until our March meeting. We also do not have to approve it for the exact amount. We can approve it for less than that you recommend or be advertised. However, if we advertise too low, then we cannot approve it. We cannot add to that. So we can always advertise high and approve less. We cannot advertise less and approve more.
Yeah.
So that's why I put it at the $50,000 mark. Also, if there was an increase in 2024, it's likely that we're going to need to add additional amounts to the 2025 budget as well. And so that was giving us a little buffer in case we just needed to leave it in there anyway for 2025.
Sure.
Just wanted to explain
Yep.
that.
Thank you. I'll leave it up to the board's preference. Again, I'm still of the opinion after speaking to the director of the ambulance service. This is not a pressing matter. They understand if the board wants to wait for exact firm numbers. Tim would like to get that pushed through tonight. Misty, any thoughts, opinions on the additional?
I literally read through that and whizzed through it, so I wish I had it in front of me so I could reread it. Do you have a copy of that?
For which
The
one?
email.
Ashley's email?
The email, but yeah, from today.
Let's see. Yeah, if somebody.
I mean, if it's a time issue, I understand. If
Well, and that's
you don't
what.
want, let me finish, please. If we don't want to accept it from a time thing, let's just have another meeting to do it. Then it complies. But I just want to be prudent and get these things paid. That's
Well,
all.
and that's fine, Tim. But again, you know, this was just given to us, and if it was a pressing matter, I would say let's do this tonight. But I've spoke to the director, and it's not a pressing matter. They understand waiting.
The
So to me-
director is not the financial side of Park County.
The director works hand in hand with the commissioners and the president of the county council and all members of the Park County council. Let's see. Let's find this email. There's that there.
Thanks.
Yep.
Pull up 10 so I can see it.
I will correct that communication.
There's that one.
So the question we have here is we have a bill, it's going to have to be paid regardless. That's, have to pay it regardless. So why are we pushing it later to pay it? Because someone says we don't have to wait? Well, it should be paid, and it should be paid on time. And the recommendation that Ashley James brought here was a legitimate recommendation to be done. And I think that as far as giving respect to this council, it's not, we run this show, we have council members here we work with, we respect them, they do their job, and we as commissioners need to be working with the council hand in hand and make the stuff work, and not have our own personal idea about when stuff should be paid. They know the best that what needs to be done, and we're here to get this approved tonight, and I would like to see it get approved.
Tim, and I understand where you're coming from, Tim. I think we want to work with everybody. After our first meeting, you know, we want to work together. But at a bare minimum, we have no invoice. We have no documentation given to us other than an email that says $36,000. And I'm sure the council wouldn't approve if I came and asked for something without an invoice or without any bills. We have an email, but I want something more than that, and that's what I talked to Julie about. I don't think Park County, if the shoes were flipped, they would, do that. So I think it's prudent that we receive an actual invoice. And Julie said she's working on the end of year report for 2024. And once we get that, I think this board will approve that. If we have to have a special meeting, we'll have a special meeting. We're not withholding Park County any funding. We appreciate everything they've done. They're doing a great job for our county. We're very appreciative of that. But we have no invoice, and wherever that came from, if they didn't send you one or you haven't and hadn't got it, that's, you're here or there, but we don't have anything to look at in front of us to approve something like that.
Did you read the report? The email we sent you with the breakdown?
The email you sent about the 36,000 had no report attached to it.
There was no one sent out, had a breakdown on it.
When was it sent?
I don't know, it's been a while.
I haven't seen anything recent
Well,
of
I
any
think it was probably sent to
breakdown.
you also.
But again, I mean, just recently, this right here, there's been nothing attached, no invoice. So again, I would ask that the board wait until we receive the final report from Park County or an invoice, and then we can act on it once we receive it.
Do we have an invoice, Tim?
No,
Was there one produced or?
No, I
like
haven't
a-
seen it, no.
Oh, okay.
But we started out on this, when we took this over, we told them that amount of money was gonna pay them every month, and that's what it's been. You know, the contract was for 45,800 a month, and that's what we agreed to pay them.
And then what they're saying is at the end of 2024, if there was any money owed, Vermilion County would shore up that account.
Correct. And so that is what the big.
So the
bill for right now.
36,412 isn't like the
Yes.
overpayment that we need to make?
Yes.
That's what we need to pay him, but we don't know, as, speaking to Julie, that report isn't done yet for 2024. So she doesn't have it down to the penny, and that's why she said she should have it by the end of January. And I said, well, is this an emergency to get this 36 or whatever that number is? She goes, no, it's not a problem. We'll work with you guys. And I thought, okay, because I think it's good for a board to see the entire report, see all the information before you act on something like that.
They're not gonna change the number from last year.
She had told me there was discrepancies with, I have to go through my email and look, whether it was HSA contract or something, there was some type of numbers. And even though you're right, we could do a 50,000 to make sure it's all good, but again, I would rather see that shored up report first.
But it ain't gonna make no difference. If you approve it or not, you're gonna spend the money later anyway. So I don't see the reason why you're not going ahead and approve the funds. It will be documented, the invoice and whatever can be there will be there. So I don't understand why you wanna put something off. You're gonna pay eventually. Why not just make the decision and go ahead and pay it?
Misty, any opinion on paying it tonight or waiting until the full report is presented to the Board of Commissioners?
I haven't seen the report nor the invoice, so I'm not okay with just approving it, even though I do believe what
Yep.
Tim is saying.
Sure.
And
Well, you can make that part of your agreement. If I see an invoice, we authorize it to pay it.
He said you could, he said you could make that part of a motion that you could approve the payment pending an invoice from Park County / the report, but the report, I mean, I'm not sure when that's gonna be done, so I mean, I guess you could technically do that. I mean, that's an option, I suppose. But you're not gonna wanna send an additional to the council until we see any of that, so that's not gonna be something.
Actually, come,
Actually, we understand the withdrawal thing and
I
everything.
just want to make sure you know
Yep.
you can withdraw if you decide that you didn't want it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a matter of advertising and everything.
Yep, thank you. So is there any action tonight on moving on this request from Mr. Yocum, or waiting until we receive the invoice and data from Park County?
I received a request from Roy Reitzman from the council of Park County. He has to be paid within 30 days if possible. That's all I'm leaving it at. I think we need to respect Mr. Roy Reitzman, who is an official, elected official, in his decision-making. I'm into the conversation.
Misty?
And so it has to be approved through the council by advertisement? Is that what I'm hearing?
For an additional, so anything.
So we don't have enough money right now to pay for this. Is that, am I right? Am I thinking correctly? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yep.
We have the money, we just had.
We have a money budgeted for the monthly cost of the ambulance, and that may go up as well because that end of year report's not done. So if Julie finishes that end of year report and says, hey, you need to up your monthly cost $5,000, then that'll be another additional for the council to consider for the next 12 months to up that money. They're just trying to get ahead of it by saying, go ahead and approve this money, and then once that comes in,
We can just pay it.
you can. But again, I would not like to pay anything until I see that report or even an invoice. You know, I think just picking up the phone and saying, hey, we need this
So
funding.
could we allow them to do the 50,000 pending though the invoice coming in?
We could, you can make that a motion, part of your motion, you could do all that, yep.
I don't, can I do that?
Yeah, you can make a motion to approve.
Okay.
They threw out a number of 50,000, you could do that, and then you just can't do less, so anything
Okay.
above
Yeah.
Tim's number of 36.4, we just don't know what that number is.
Yeah.
So
I think we
you-
took
you-
proper, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I don't see I don't see a problem with approving the 50,000 pending the invoice coming in.
Sure. If you want to make that motion.
Sure, I'll make the motion to do that.
Okay, so I have a motion on the floor by Misty Hess to ask for an additional appropriation of $50,000 pending an invoice from Park County. And do you want to see the report or just the invoice?
I would say the invoice and the report.
Invoice and report. Do I have a second for the motion?
No second.
Second by Mr. Yocum. Do I have any other discussion? If not, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Alrighty. Let me see if you could work up an additional appropriation for $50,000 pending we receive those documents. And if you could send an email to Park County Director Julie Lanzone, which I know she's already working on it, but just keep her in the loop on that.
I will, any communication with Park County include Jim Meese on it, with Julie Zone, and also Roy Reitzman, please.
Sure. Alrighty. If there's no other business before the Board of Commissioners, we will open it up for public comment. You have 3 minutes. Yeah, 3 minutes.
Brenda Furry, former auditor, current county counsel. First, I would like to say that the reason that the auditor's credit card was canceled was because it had my name on it. And they said the easiest way to do it was to cancel it and have him redo it. That's what I was told. AOD, I'd like to clarify some things. We worked on that for 2.5 years. It was a long process. We looked at multiple units, software, whatever you want to call it. We looked at it and we thought it was the best because it works well with LAP. It's one of them that actually it's an upload, it's easy, it's smooth. It was a little more streamlined than some of the others that we had looked at. Second, they did have training. Training was afforded to them. Not everyone took the training. If anybody else ever needed training, it had been offered. It's a great company. I suggest to the council, to the commissioners and then the auditor to reach out to AOD specifically. They will come in if you need to. We never did it. We did virtual. It was just what we did. I did have Kylie on my office. She was the brains in the operation because she's young and smart and she can do those virtual things. So we did them virtually. But we had training in the auditor's office once a week. Now granted, they didn't. They could have. Nobody ever said anything, but they didn't need any more training. Anytime that anybody had a problem, they'd come in, we'd help them out. I've talked to several people that in the past really did not like it because of the lack of training, that now they've gotten used to it and they like it. It does streamline your comp time. Your comp time is more accurate, and I will suggest, RJ, what you stated about it's paying people for time when they're not working. You punch in when you start to work. If you come in and your boss or your supervisor or your elected official has approved you to come in and start working at 7:30 and you punch in at 7:30 and you work until 4, you're going to have 30 minutes of comp time. If you have over that in a 40-hour week, you work more than 40 hours a week, then that turns into time and a half. Any other clarifications I can give on that, I'm happy to give. I'm happy to discuss this with Ron. I will say I've already emailed to ask to be on the committee. So.
Sure. Thank you.
That's my cue.
As I wanted to share earlier, Ron asked me to come into the office today, and we had a great discussion.
State your name for the record, Rick.
Yes, sorry. Rick Weir.
Thank you.
County Councilman. I have volunteered I have some experience in training. I've trained probably on 5 or 6 software systems at Duke Energy, one of them being payroll. I'm confident that I can probably learn this system in 2 days, and I'm willing to spend 30 days of my own time being available to any department or any individual at any time of the day to come in and make it work. And the reason why I say that is because we as a council want this system because it is useful. We do look at comp time, and we can use it for a lot of different things. I'm not tracking time, I'm tracking it for budget reasons. It would be very helpful for us. I'm sure, Misty, you utilize it a lot. But I'm available. I've trained on customer information system and engineering system. I've done purchasing, warehousing. I've traveled the state.
Nation.
I've traveled several states using it. So I feel confident I can learn it. I feel confident I can train it. So I'm available. So I did want to make sure, that, and I'm willing to do that. I do want to emphasize that we use LAO in our property systems, our accounting system, our budget system, payroll system. That's what we're already using it for. So you're already using it for payroll. We're just trying to do it for timekeeping. I would just say, there's reports available that we can use and will use and are using. Paper storage costs and retention periods is something you need to consider. You're aware of that, and we don't have room in the courthouse for a lot of paper storage. And for sure, the drawbacks for a manual system, especially for a prolonged period of time, are prone to errors, damage the documents. It's time consuming to go back. Ron had issues with transfer documents today, and the lady from whatever help center that came in to do that said, if you want to go back to the paperless system, you can go back 6 months, but in order to make that accurate, you're going to have to go back 2 years to enter all that data that you haven't got. So we need to make sure before we make decisions, thank you for making that decision, not to totally do away with this, make it optional. Because you have people here that are using it and some that are struggling with it, that need that extra training. And I know for a fact you need sometimes to hit a reset button and do the training over again. So if anything, don't make the training optional. It needs to be, encouraged.
Yep.
So time consuming, prone to errors, scalability, compliance risk, and calculating things individually consumes a lot of Ron's time or his department's time. And what might take 4 or 5 minutes to hit approved, simply approved, you're going to be chasing documents from every department, and you're still going to lose them or get entered incorrectly.
Yeah.
So I'm just encouraging you
Yeah.
to keep the system and work with the system.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, your phone.
It's a 3-minute
It's a timer.
3-minute timer.
Okay.
That was my
I'm listening to so much of that, I'll don't turn on your phone.
Anyone else?
Duh.
Can I just say one thing, just to clarify what Mr. Sanguinetti was saying earlier? There
State
were,
your name.
I'm sorry, my name is Susan Strolkoss. There were 3 bills basically regarding Wabash Valley Resources. There was 442, 1209, and 451. 442 affects Vigo, Vermilion County. It was the 60%. The 1209, he was correct. It did say 70%, but we were excluded from that. That's why we felt it violated our civil rights. We're treated different than any other county. So I just wanted to make that clarification. And the fact that, no, there is no law that says they can't send a threatening letter. I get that. I would have just thought the county would have wanted to know, why are they sending threatening letters to take somebody's ground if they do not have their storage unit, their storage space. It's intimidating because these people sit outside the plume area where the plume meaning where it's going to be stored, right? They sit outside there. So these people did not know. They did not get an EPA letter. They have not been involved. All they know is they got a letter right after Thanksgiving threatening they need to make a decision and they're going to take their ground. And if they don't agree to whatever price they were listed, that they were going to go and seek eminent domain. I would think that the commissioners would at least reach out to the company and say, quit threatening them. We need verification of the 60%. Because I will tell you, that is supposed to come through the oversight through the DNR. They were working on draft rulings to oversee this. It was put on hold. And then, of course, the appointment came for Alan Morrison. So we don't know what the rulemaking is going to be for DNR. But I would think that somebody would be concerned about getting threatening letters from a company. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you would like to know any more about this, feel free to reach me.
Thank you.
Doug Bohannon, Universal. This is directed to RJ. There's a lot of rumors going around and a lot of people would like an answer. Did you use any influence to bring Derek Davis into the representative situation? To get him to run for representative?
Simple answer is no, Doug. I did not use any influence or reach out or.
So your answer is no, you did not.
I did not. If you're asking me if I went out and solicited Derek Davis to run, the answer is no.
No, my question was, did you use any influence at all to get Derek Davis in the race?
Again, to get him to file or get in the race, the answer is no. If your answer is more importantly, did I support Commissioner Yoakum sitting here tonight in the District 42 race, is that what you're meaning to ask?
Do what?
Is that what you're meaning to ask, if I supported a fellow commissioner sitting here beside me in the race?
No, that's really come down to, you need to come out to one of our meetings.
Doug, I'm not gonna, well, I'll just say this. I've made my statement multiple times. I've signed a letter.
No, I just want
I've
you to
rescinded.
see the people, their ages, and how hard they work
Doug, I understand. I
to do what
understand
they're
that.
doing.
I understand
And
that.
when they hear something like this, how hard it hurts
Yeah.
to think that someone would knock their legs out from underneath of them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when someone does ask the question, just come back with a quick, no, I did not. You know what I mean?
Well, I didn't. That's what I told you. I did not solicit somebody to go run in a race like that. Those are all, anybody that ran in that race, those 7, 8 individuals ran on their own accord. I knew Commissioner Yoakum was putting in after he put it on Facebook. You know, everyone else, I learned either through phone calls or text messages or, well, friends that had told me to run. And I'm not a PC either, so I had no votes in that last night. I spoke to Mr. Sanquinetti when he had concerns, you know, so I'll talk to anybody. You know, I rescinded my letter of support. I've stated this, you know, hundreds of times on social media, and that I really don't have anything more to add to that. We have a local commissioner now going to represent us at the State House. So now that we have someone that will answer our phone calls and concerns, maybe Commissioner Yoakum, State Representative-elect Yoakum, can work on some bills to help with this carbon. Not to mention, you know, maybe property tax reform and any other issues that are battling citizens in the district.
Okay, and you know, I don't want to start a bunch of crap, but I think that anybody in these pews would have to raise their hand to get attention. I don't care what position you hold. If this guy has to raise his hand to get attention, so does this guy. I don't care what position. I mean, that's courtesy. You know, I mean, there was a lot of people angered over that.
Well, and Doug, and to speak on that, the last 4 years we've had no decorum during some meetings. Things have, that's our 3-minute timer, but we've had some things get out of control during meetings. We're not going to have that. So unless, you know, we allow Lashley to come up to clarify something, but for the most part, it's about keeping meetings civil. We have 2 public comment things, and I'm not, you know, if we allow one person to come up, then I got to allow 10. You know, and I've been a part of a lot of boards. I've served on school boards, I've served on county council, and there's quorum in all of them. I mean, they don't allow that, you know. I mean, when you want to speak, it's told, hey, this is your time, and it's nothing against the person. They just got to keep the meetings rolling, and we're not disputing public input or anything like that. We welcome it. You've been to our meetings. We're very open. We were one of the first counties, you know, to go to live stream before many. So yeah, that's just how these meetings will run, you know. So if they have
I was a maintenance planner for years, and nothing pissed me off more than people speaking out of turn or speaking over somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, ask for permission to speak, and then you get to speak.
Yeah.
So,
thank you.
thank you.
Yep. Anybody else for public comment?
Neil Costello, County Council. On the topic of the special meetings that would be held, you said you're gonna have one meeting a month, and it'd be like a special meeting if you need one.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
One of the things in the open door law is, and I don't care how you do your meetings, but like if you find yourself having to have multiple special meetings for claims or things like that, then it becomes an issue. If you have to do many or frequent meetings, it becomes special. Anyway, with that being said, can I get an email of the contract for this timekeeping system? I asked for that at our last meeting, did not receive it. And I don't mean like the quote. I got a quote at the last one. I want the real deal. I want the money. I want to see what it costs monthly. I want to look at that. I don't have it.
Yeah, I don't. I've just got the quote in front of me, so we can have the auditor's office get that to you.
And I'm just talking fast and trying to hurry because I only got 3 minutes. And I hate that chime too, because I use that for an alarm when I wake up in the morning. Yeah, I hate that. My copy of the ordinance that you were wanting to repeal tonight was 2023-5. Did you correct that on the document? I got a document that said 2023-5 on it.
That was wrong, yeah.
Okay, so it's been corrected?
Yeah.
Okay, just make sure.
Yeah, that's it.
Make sure you do the right one. Where is the final records? Like, if you're gonna do time cards by hand, where are I mean, is it all by hand, or does some of it end up on a computer?
That's not a question for me, Neil. I don't know that answer.
I mean, surely there's some technology involved somewhere in the process, whether it be printing the checks or transferring money to the bank, or there's technology everywhere.
I'm assuming.
And my point is that, you know, at work, we implemented the use of iPads and things for truck drivers to use and supervisors to rate roads and do things that we were paying consultants to do. And, you know, just like I said the other night, you know, getting new phones is the worst thing in life to me. I hate that stuff. But once you get used to it after a short period of time, it becomes, you know, you almost have to have it.
Yeah.
And I think so that, you know, the payroll system might be similar. Once people get real used to it, it saves so much time. It's almost like having another person there doing all the work for that. So, you know, I think technology is a good thing. I don't always embrace it immediately, but soon I do. And I assume the allow system can be adjusted and customized to meet the needs of any department that we have, even if it's special, unique for one department to have allow set up a certain way. I don't know.
I don't know. That's a good
guess
question.
That would be what the committee would find. And
for sure.
You get rid of it, then there's no point in having a 7-person committee.
For sure.
You know, and I just want to, you know, the other night there was one of the department heads said, well, she didn't like technology, and she was old-fashioned. That was her words, not mine. And I can understand that. By the same token, the same department uses some pretty expensive technology to do what they do, you know, because it's a lot better than the old way. So we have contracts with EAS for technology. We're looking at another $400,000 to $500,000 in the near future for servers and things and iPads and desktop computers. We're using technology right now to live stream these meetings, so it's out there and we're not getting rid of it. So if we're trying to attract technology to the industrial park, you know, we need to use it too. So, but anyway,
sure.
That's pretty much all I got. So thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hi, Cindy Pyle, Vermillion County resident, taxpayer. On the your AOD time card system, as long as my opinion that if it's already taxpayer money has gone to this, and I'm glad you guys decided to use a council to decide on this. One thing I wanted to bring to attention was if you do break a contract with this company, will there be some kind of fee involved that the taxpayers would have to, you know,
foot that bill also if you break that contract. So I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, anybody else?
I do want to make one announcement.
I'll try to make it short. My name's Bill Wilson. Congratulations on your new jobs.
Thank you.
If you don't know something now, ask the people they know. We're trying to get a big meeting in North Terre Haute to let people know about this carbon. And you know, I've been all over the world. Navy, high pressure boiler operator, repairman, did that at the Army plant, in the fitters for 30 years, welded every pipe they had. I know all about pipe. You cannot do 2,100 pounds of pressure in a pipe and send it out to my property and stick it in the ground. It won't work, and it's not going to happen. And in the Navy, 1,200 pounds, I was next to a well, been blew up, banged, burned up, smashed, lost my hearing, part of it, and some other things. But I'm trying to save lives now. The people that can't talk, the kids, they can't say nothing. Somebody's got to help them. And this has got to be stopped. These people come in there, a few of our farmers, neighbors, were bought out. I wish the snake was still here. He lied to them people. He said they're going to be making fertilizer. Well, there's a fertilizer running right down through my property. Same thing they think they're going to be making. I worked at the North Terre Haute fertilizer plant. Somebody come in and they shut that fertilizer plant down. I got to talk to the guy who was shutting that down. He was shutting 3 other fertilizer plants down. So this is not about fertilizer. This is just a thing they're using to come out there and take care of us. Anyway, we're trying to get a big meeting in North Terre Haute to get the people involved and know what's going on. If you don't know, we got some smart people here that do know. They got piles and piles of information that's right on. It's not lies. They've done nothing but lie to us. Congratulations on your job.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
All right, anybody else?
Hi, Clayton Sanguinetti, I'm back. No, like Bill just said, it's not about making fertilizer. It's about getting them carbon credits. It's about that 45Q government money. You know, if they don't get any of that, they're not going to do any of this. Okay, Misty, I don't know if you're aware, but recently I've talked to a few people that were running for a few offices, and you know, they said that they believe in the science. Okay, the science is up here at Decatur.
That's not his.
But you're already
Man,
done.
that's
not his
you really
That
cut me
was Bill's
short.
last
Really
one.
cut me short. But the science is up here in Decatur, Illinois, where the only 2 Class 6 wells are in the United States, in the world, as far as that goes. They've had 4,700 micro earthquakes. They've had multiple leaks where it's leaked into other people's property, water contamination, and that's just a few things. And in the science up there, they've only captured 7% of what of their total. So the science is proven, and you know they talk about the science. Well, to me, that is the science. So when we go out here and they inject this into the ground below our aquifer, okay, and it goes up through the cracks and crevices and it gets in our aquifer, which supplies the whole Midwest. Our water contamination, our water supply is contaminated, and we're done. There's no living in the Midwest anymore, because once that water is contaminated, we're over. We start having a bunch of earthquakes. My foundation on my house lived through Peabody for probably 30 years, and I don't know if it could take a bunch of earthquakes caused by Wabash Valley Resources. Another thing on that is we asked Wabash Valley Resources if they would supply USGS to monitor any size earthquake. And they said, no, we're just gonna use the standardized. So the standard is like 3.0 or greater. Okay, they're not gonna monitor any micro earthquakes. So your micro earthquakes is how they measure and they prepare and plan for a major earthquake. So they're not wanting to put anything in place for our safety. And when you have a pipeline running 2100 PSI past people's homes, schools, and you have a major earthquake and you rupture that pipeline, you're not gonna have a fire truck drive out to get the people. You know, because your fire truck ain't gonna run because the carbon dioxide is gonna displace the oxygen and the truck's not gonna run. So there's a lot of things in here that they haven't talked about or proven, and they have repeatedly lied to people in the community over all this stuff. So it is a major money Ponzi scam, and that's my 3 minutes.
That was your 3 minutes.
Thanks, Clay.
I'm Bill Reynolds, Fairview, and I'm a retired teacher. And I still substitute at the high school, and I've been asked to work with the principal. I still have an active payroll number there, to try to find the dates when we can have students here to continue the student mentoring program. So in talking with, chatting with, conversing with the principal, we had kind of thought maybe if you're going to have scheduled evening meetings, which now is first Tuesday, and that was not determined until tonight, so we had a lot of uncertainties. We were kind of led to believe that maybe you're going to have abbreviated morning meetings that would be somewhere halfway in between those, and that might be a better fit maybe for students. We're 2 hours into this meeting. That's a little abusive, I think, and it exceeds, I think, what students really are here for the experience for. A big part of that program is also to visit with the offices and find out what government does. So I guess I'm looking for clarification now that all three of you are here. If I to pick, the principals and I, are we to pick 4 days when your evening meeting will become day meetings on the first Tuesday? Or is it a possibility we can have intermittent meetings in between daytime, abbreviated meetings that would maybe fit the student schedule and needs a little bit better?
So the proposal was 4 morning meetings specifically tailored to the Commissioner's Mentoring Program. So we would ask, Tim was working on that with schools, I guess.
Well, he was working with me.
Yeah.
I've become the unofficial liaison
yeah.
between the government and schools since I have had a foot in both.
Yeah, so what we would ask you to do is provide 4 dates, whether it's spring, summer, fall, however they want to do it, and 4 days that work for the schools, and then the commissioners will call a meeting in the morning, 8:15 a.m., pending Misty or the new commission.
8:15 is a little bit early because school starts at 8:15.
8:30, whatever the case, paraphrase, whatever the time may be for that meeting.
I want to think about that time.
Yeah.
And we can further communicate. I just want get a little clarification on direction.
Yeah,
on
so
what
just
a big
pick
task
4
would be.
dates, and the commissioners will set morning meetings for those commissioner mentoring programs.
Okay, so it wouldn't be evening meetings, it'd be morning
These
meetings.
are in addition to the commissioner's mentoring program. We would, whether it's claims or whether it's more of a formality meeting, we will have some type of meeting.
Okay, so you're looking at probably an abbreviated meeting.
Yeah, no, this won't be if
So the
anything,
evening meetings would continue, but we have.
this is an addition. This
Okay.
is strictly for the commissioner's mentoring program.
That helps. I was trying to
I would
figure
never
out how to structure that.
I would never recommend a meeting.
No. There's liability.
Well, we weren't
issues,
recommending
getting
Yeah, we
students
weren't
started
either, yeah.
After school, no, I wouldn't recommend.
So these would be a
that at all.
strict for them. So propose
Absolutely.
4 dates to the auditor or to the commissioners, and we will converse on those.
Okay, yeah, if you keep it under 2 hours, that'd be great.
My goal is an hour or less, Bill. That's my goal is an
Well,
hour.
if it's a really abbreviated meeting for approval of claims, it should be fairly straightforward unless you want to kind of do a little education for
Yeah.
them. Yeah,
For
okay,
sure.
so the regular meetings will go on, so be 12
Yeah, these
of
are
those.
just strictly for the
Be
mentoring
12 of
program.
those this year, these will be additional meetings.
Additional 4 meetings. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks for taking care of that.
All righty. Anybody else?
Flo Evinger. Even though I am a member of the Concerned Citizens, I want to ask, how are you guys going to pick somebody to take Tim's place? So that tells me we got 2 newbies on the commissioners, and is they going to just follow in the footpaths of the president, or are they going to have their own opinions?
Well, I have my own opinions myself, so.
Well, and the replacement will be,
about
there's
I
a
mean,
process for that, and Tim could handle that. He's the Republican Party chairman for the county, but there's a process for that, and we don't have, well, I'm not a committeeman. Misty may be involved in that as a committeeman, but Tim can elaborate on that for you.
The process is, tonight I will be giving my resignation as Commissioner of Birmingham County. Once that resignation is submitted, it starts a 30-day time for us to have a caucus. There will be a 10-day timer that goes, all the precinct committeemen have to be notified of the caucus. Those that want to be in part of that caucus have to be fit the qualifications for being a Republican, and if they're not, there will not be in that caucus. Those precinct committeemen will come, and each person will have a time to speak, and then they will vote, and that decision will be made. I have no decision making there. It's made by the 17 precinct committeemen. I think the vices might be voting on this, I'm not sure, but it will be done in a public place. There'll be a notice that's going on, and people are it's open to all Republicans in good standing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Vicki Whitmire, and Misty, I'd like to congratulate you on your appointment, and I would like for you to come out to our CO2 meeting on January the 12th, and so you can know and understand what all this is about, the fight that we're fighting.
January 12th.
January
12th.
18th.
12th.
Well, no, last weekend.
Oh, what day is it then? February?
We've already had January 12th.
Yeah.
The 26th? Okay, it's the 26th. We have them every 2 weeks.
Yeah, okay.
So it's January 26th. It's on a Sunday at 4 o'clock at Universal Town Hall.
This Sunday? No, next
Next
Sunday.
Sunday.
Next Sunday. Next Sunday. Oh, okay.
Been too long of a journey.
Yeah.
Anybody else? One more. Or two more.
I just got one thing. Different thing. Neil Costello, the offer is still open for Commissioner Hess to meet with the ambulance committee at a date of her choosing and a time of her choosing to exchange information and ideas for future ambulance service in the county in regard to locations and types of buildings to take.
On my agenda, get done.
Yeah.
On the list.
Just as a reminder.
On the list.
Official reminder.
Yeah, and to follow up with that, Neil, I did send an email to Council President about that joint public meeting with the commissioners, and I have not heard back on your guys' possible meeting dates on that as well.
Okay, yeah, it's
So-
probably best to have at least.
Well, that's if you're waiting on
Yeah.
that first, and then that's
Yeah,
fine. I just
it's,
want to follow up
it's,
with that.
There's time. So,
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Hi, my name's Mike Kelly. I live in Fairview Park. And I wanted to bring it to your attention again about the aquifer because it's very important to me. And with the tragedy that's happening out in California, the people are found that they can't buy insurance. And if we instigate this project and it fails, and the water's bad, plus we've poisoned our ground, you can't sell your house, you can't, it's worthless. That's what they're finding out in California. And I'm sure the insurance companies, when they see the risk on this, are going to do the same thing. They don't lose money. I'm not saying they shouldn't make money, but I'm saying they don't lose. And then they see the risk go up and the community is not protected by the government, they leave. So I don't want us to get in that situation either. I'm bringing that up because of what happened to California. And I'm not wanting even a small scale to happen here. So that's another thing to consider because I've not seen any safety factors from this company, Wabash Valley, that where they can handle a spill or anything over the tanker on a railroad, one tanker. And that's a high risk when they try to recover a leak or fix a leak or anything on a tanker, let alone the pressure that's going to be on that system, and they're pumping it in the ground. They have no idea where it's going. It's going to go to least resistance. It dissolves heavy metals, which when it hits water, And when it goes through the ground, it carries the heavy metals in a liquid form to our aquifer, which is trying to replenish. I'm not talking about river water, I'm talking about the actual water in the ground. So that's, I just wanted to bring that to your attention too. That's another failure, and I really don't see how safety-wise we can improve this at all. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
congratulations on your, each of your
Thank you.
jobs.
Thank you.
I'll call it a job.
All right, anybody else?
Yeah, one more. You know what it, Doug Bohan and Universal, you know what it comes down to is, it's like we're being invaded. I mean, they're actually coming in and taking your property, and they're gonna inject something underneath it that's just terrible. And it's how far are we gonna let them go? And look into the future and what's coming. So I have empathy for you guys. You guys are gonna have a bunch of hell of a decisions to be making. So you're gonna need our help more than we're gonna need yours. Because they're gonna either tell you you're gonna do this, or, you know, and it's gonna be up to us to help you stop them, which we've been doing. I mean, we've been doing all the work, you know what I mean? Finding out this, finding that, and then telling you guys what's going on. So, and we'll continue doing that, you know, because I mean, once you start, we get you the research and you start seeing it, you're gonna go, wow, everybody else does. The stuff that this can cause and what it'll do, and once you find out what it's all really all about, you know, so thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Congratulations and congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna restart the timer for me.
You got 5 minutes, don't you?
Nope, 2:58 now. Penny Carpenter, Vermilion County taxpayer. I am. Anybody listening?
I'm
Yes,
listening.
yes,
you
I'm
are.
here.
You have my
I'm
complete-
frustrated.
You have my complete attention.
Thanks, Tim. Listen, this is a big deal, and I really don't feel like people are listening. They're not listening to the taxpayers. They're not listening to the people. You're letting Wabash Valley Resources, and I know they're sitting at home watching us right now because there was a big news article after our APC meeting the next morning, so they can listen. They're bullying us. They've got this golden ticket. Go do your golden ticket thing. We're preventing, area plan is trying to prevent other pipelines piping that into Vermilion County. For the love of God, we just got rid of the VX in 2010. We are not a dumping ground. Some people think this is God's country. It is your responsibility to protect us as taxpayers. We put you in office. We want your protection. You know, you're putting us before the judge? Cool, let's go before the judge, because I'm going to spend money, a lot of money on an attorney out of Fort Wayne. So I'm going to come and ask for additional appropriations, okay? We're going to get this done. We're not going to roll over.
Thank you, Penny. Any other public comment for the night?
I got it.
Oh, I thought you were coming up again. Yeah. Thank you, Penny, for
Got
the
an
words.
announcement.
Sure, if there's no other public comment, we'll move. Oh, Neil's got one more.
Maximum of 3.
You're gonna have to limit you for sure.
9 minutes. You add them up.
That's a minute and a half. for him.
I grew up in Universal. My grandparents lived in Universal, and I spent the majority of my youth in Universal. And I grew up next to Peabody coal mine. My grandpa was a coal miner. He was an underground miner, but Peabody was a strip mine. And I had nothing against Peabody. I had family members that were employed by that. It supplied coal to generate power for people. But bottom line is that land out there was, it was decimated by strip mining, and they reclaimed the land. By law they had to fix it, and it's just now starting to look really nice. And it's suffered enough. The way I look at it, whether the science is there or not, I don't know. I'm not a geologist, and I'm not a chemical engineer, but Just to me, the land's already served its purpose for the, for the good of the people. And it's time to let it grow back to the way it was and let people enjoy the land that have purchased it. So that's just my comment on the whole issue.
Thank you.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you, Neil. All right, any other public comment for the night?
Yeah, Bill Reynolds again. In conclusion, then, so you're gonna have meetings first Tuesday of each month.
Yes.
So would it be best then for us to target maybe something in the third week, and maybe have enough business there you could actually.
Could be, yeah, we could. Yeah.
Rather than try to have morning and evening same day.
Yeah.
Maybe do it intermittently where you can catch something, maybe have some legitimate.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Just put together a proposal for those 4 meeting
Right,
dates.
we'll just
and-
try to miss AP exam dates and breaks.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah,
Okay.
we're happy
All right.
to have them in the morning, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, if there's no other public comment, I'll turn it over to the board.
Has George got something to say?
George, you're just in attendance, aren't you? Just hang
Okay.
out.
Okay.
You see the insurance guy out there, you get a little.
Okay, I want to talk to you after meeting.
I'll, before we adjourn, I'll turn it over if there's any comments or any statements by any member of the commissioners tonight.
Yeah, I do want to make one notification. We had a vacancy on the Perrysville Town Board, and Anthony Smith was appointed to that position, so he's a new town board member. Number 2 is tomorrow is my swearing in. If anybody wants to come up at 4 o'clock at the State House, I know you're all busy, but if anyone wants to come up, fine. I will be, end up having, tomorrow I will get my office, and I will have my passes, and I will be a member of the 42nd. I'll be the 42nd in the Congress, House of Representatives. And also, I will probably be having an open house coming up, probably within the next 2 or 3 weeks, and I would love to have you all come up and visit me. I mean, I'm going away, but my phone is still there. You can still call me anytime, and I will be available. And then text works best for me. So I'm saying that I'd like to see you all up there. Thank you.
Misty, any closing comments?
No closing comments.
No closing comments. In closing, I would just like to reiterate again, congratulations to Commissioner Yoakum on his election to, my 3 minutes ain't up yet, Penny, come on. To his election to the House District 42, and thank him for his years of service as a commissioner of Vermilion County. So thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Motion, I have a second. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.